I get a couple questions always asking me, who's your favorite photographer? Who inspires you? Well, there's several recent ones, but I'm gonna have to go with Ansel Adams. And why? Because there's just so much behind his work, so much behind his theory and thought processes that is just so amazing and so just damn awesome. So I'm here to give you 8 lessons that I learned from Ansel Adams. And if you don't know who he is, you gotta look him up. Here we go. Huge lesson that I learned from Ansel Adams, and one of the most important things is your horizon line, so that it's not dead center. He loved to use a dropped one, so basically the horizon line, you know, something you see in the background, whichever you see establishes your horizon line, is lower. And why do you do that? It creates more visual appeal that way. So it's just not something frame where it's just something here, something dull, something that's cut off by someone in the background. It's more dynamic. So one of the huge lessons that I learned is to move it up, move it down. It creates a different feeling. So I'd highly recommend starting to do that. Ansel Adams was huge into black and white photography, you know, all the way from the zone system and everything like that to really bring out some dynamic range. So one of the greatest things that I learned from him is that black and white, you know, can take away from some distractions that are going on in the background, colors or anything like that, but it also can isolate emotion. So, you know, a lot of you realize that when you use black and white, things pop out more, emotions stand out more, and sometimes it's just how it has to be. So really wanted to point out that black and white can also isolate emotion and can eliminate distraction, you know, bad color and stuff like that. One of the biggest things you learn is to get in tune with your gear, know how to use it, know the settings, know everything about your gear before you even set it up. You know exactly where to go. So what is one of the greatest things Ansel Adams did? He knew his gear, you know, like no one else. He knew it before he even turned it on. So one of the greatest stories that I read was basically he pulled over on the side of the road and took, within seconds, took the shot, or if he would have waited a couple minutes, he would have missed it. It was Moonrise over Hernandez, and that's one of his famous, you know, one of his greatest photos out of many. And it's just amazing that if he didn't do it within 5 minutes, it was done. That moment would have been gone. So it really just took him seconds. So really, I learned to really just be in tune with my own gear, know the menu, know the settings, know how, you know, everything works, know the exposure triangle, creative triangle, mix everything together, know your gear. One of the most famous quotes that Ansel Adams says is basically, a good photo is knowing where to stand. So he went to great lengths, to extreme lengths, standing on top of cars, being at the bottom of cliffs, standing in the middle of rivers and oceans and everything like that to get the shot. So just take that and generalize it anyway in general. You know, a great way to get a candid is knowing where you're gonna be. Anticipate what's gonna happen, what emotion's gonna happen. If you're at a wedding, you know, that kiss, you know the right angle, know where you're gonna be, because it's true, a good photo is knowing where to stand. You gotta have that perspective, you gotta have that angle. That's one of the biggest things that I take, you know, right now. It's knowing exactly where to stand, knowing basically how to set something up. Ansel Adams also realized that if you fill a scene, if you fill your frame, your viewfinder, everything with more of the scene, there's more of a story you can tell. So you could bring in elements, you know, I'm here with this such in place, there's this going on, this is the weather and everything. You could tell that by using the entire scene. So don't be intimidated to use a certain scene. Don't be intimidated to fill the frame with an image, not necessarily just go tight up. But if you want to show more emotion anyway, you know, definitely get tighter to a person, but don't be afraid to fill your camera, your vision with the entire scene. And this goes back to pre-visualization. Ansel Adams knew what he was going to do, how he was going to make the photo before he even got to location. So he already basically drove by a place or walked by somewhere and said, you know what, I'm gonna do this, this, and this. When the light hits this at 6:08 p.m. or however it is, he is going to capture it that way. He knows exactly what he's doing. So it's sometimes fun to just go somewhere, take your camera and shoot, but to get something you really want, to really picture something, you know, that you really wanted to capture, put some thought into it, make a photo, not take one. So go out, have your plan, pre-visualize, and you get something good. I'm just gonna combine 7 and 8 together because you know what, they really do rely on each other, and he communicated more than art. He communicated feeling and emotion, and that's what you should strive to do. That's what I strive to do. So yes, it's great. Photography is an art. You can express yourself by so many things, but you're not just expressing it because it's a photograph or it's art. It's because you can convey emotion. You can tell a story through your images. There are no rules to good photographs, there's just good photos. Ansel Adams said this, basically meaning that if you know what the heck you're doing, if you know how to make, compose, and take, you know, great exposure, it's a good photo. Just because you know every basically little aspect, you know, that you have to use the sunny F16 rule or anything like that, that you have to use it, no, there are no rules. And I'm one to say, break the rules, screw rules. Yeah, they're good to go by when you're just starting out. I highly recommend learning them, but once you learn how to do them and, you know, master them, break the rules. It doesn't matter. So there are no rules to photography either. That's all I got. Those are the 8 lessons that I learned from the great, the ever so great Ansel Adams. And it's really important because it's really helped me improve my photography. I studied a lot of his stuff, and I might come out with, you know, some other ones like a Yusuf Karsh or anything like that, just basically because it really helped me, and I feel like it could help you guys out. So give this a quick like if, you know, this helped you out. Some of these points, you know, are pretty cool. Or grass to the guy with the eye. Please subscribe for more. Let me know down below who else has taught you something or who else you might want to see a video on or something like that. Have a good one.